Chapter 1, Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. Intelligence is very important to us, and we'll try to understand how we think since thousands of years. Here's a picture of us trying to understand how we think. Currently, we do not completely understand how we think. In other words, how does a handful of matter, that is our brain, can perceive, understand, predict, and manipulate a world that is way more larger and more complicated than our brain itself. So we do not fully understand how we think. And artificial intelligence is about first understanding intelligence, that is the intelligence here, and building intelligent entities. So artificial intelligence intuitively means we want to build intelligent entities, intelligent things. But to do that, we first need to understand what intelligence is. And because intelligence involves so many things, AI encompasses a huge variety of subfields, ranging from very specific, very general subfields to something very specific, such as playing chess, doing something complex like proving mathematical theorems, writing poetry, driving a car on a crowded street, and diagnosing diseases. So AI encompasses many different disciplines. And also AI is relevant to any intellectual task, and it is a universal field because it touches so many areas or so many disciplines that we know so far. So what is AI? There is no single defined agreement or agreed upon definition of what AI stands for, or what AI actually means to us. And there are four main views or approaches to AI. That is as an attempt to see what AI is or understand what AI is, and define it accordingly. And we will spend a lot of time discussing these four views or four approaches to AI for the next 15-20 minutes. That's what we are going to discuss. And the first view or approach to AI is acting humanly. That is acting like a person. We would like to build intelligent agents that act like humans. And a classic example of this is something known as the Turing test, which we will discuss further. The next approach to AI is thinking humanly. That is, we define AI as designing things that think like a person. And the field of cognitive science deals with this sort of this area of AI where we try to model how humans think and then use that model as a reference to design artificial intelligent agents. Now, there is a difference between acting humanly and thinking humanly. And the difference is that the first definition or first view is only concerned with actions. What happens? In other words, can we do something that humans do in terms of how things look like from the outside world or the outcome? Whereas thinking humanly is more concerned with modeling the human thinking process. So how does the brain work? So we mimic that and create a model, right? So building models like these and trying to use these models to design intelligent agents is thinking humanly. The third approach to AI is thinking rationally. That is, modeling our thinking process as a logical process where conclusions are drawn based on some type of symbolic logic, where we say our thinking is basically step 1, step 2, step 3 or 4 based on certain condition, step 5 or maybe 4 leads to step 6, and finally this leads to action that we take. So this approach of looking at AI deals with modeling our thinking as a logical process. And the last approach to AI is acting rationally. And this looks at AI by thinking that designing artificial intelligent entities is more like designing agents that perform actions that increase the value of the state of the agent or the environment in which the agent is acting. So this is a bit abstract. Let's say, for example, we have a robot, right? Now, over the period of time, if this robot does things that make the environment better, or does something that enhances the agent itself, and that particular view of looking at AI is acting rationally. That is increasing the value of the state of the agent based on how we define what that improvement is. For example, an agent that is playing a game will act rationally if it tries to win the game. So if the agent was designed to play a game and win the game, and if the agent does that, then we say that the agent is acting rationally. So here I have put all together the 4 views of AI. 2 of these views, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4 views of AI, and 2 of these measure the success in terms of human performance. 2 of these techniques. 2 of these are concerned with the thought process and reasoning, and 2 of these address human behavior, and 2 of these measure success in terms of ideal performance measure, that is rationality. And these are the 4 views that we have: acting humanly, thinking humanly, acting rationally, and thinking rationally. So the approach that aligns with the thought process and reasoning, and also measures success in terms of human performance, will be thinking humanly. And the approach that deals with success in terms of human performance and looks at human behavior is acting humanly. Now, the approach that deals with the thought process and reasoning and also measures performance using rationality is thinking rationally. And acting rationally is the approach that looks at human behavior and also looks at measuring performance using rationality. And the examples of these are the examples of thinking humanly is problem solving and learning like the way humans do. Acting humanly would be trying to diagnose a disease. Thinking rationally will be something like doing computations that make it possible to perceive, reason, and act. And acting rationally will be designing intelligent agents that act rational. Let's look into each of these 4 approaches one by one.